Hey, this is a tactical tutorial and it's about the use of multi-rocket launchers, um, or MRLs. Multi-rocket launchers are a really good tool, but they are not a win button. Some people seem to think that they are overpowered. There is a problem using multi-rocket launchers, and it is that you have to roll sixes to hit anything, but their target area is really big, and it's one of the only units that can actually shoot at unoccupied buildings and still hit something, because they hit an area close to the target that they're shooting at, right? So what would be the best way to deploy a multi-rocket launcher? My suggestion is that you wait until the enemy has deployed, that you deploy your multi-rocket launcher as the last thing you do. And that is because if the enemy you can get the enemy to deploy his forces. I hope you can see this, like 3 red boxes, right? Enemy deploys its forces. You can deploy your multi-rocket launcher so that it can see more than one of those forces. And prime targets are forces where there is less than 7 inches between the two forces. Those are the targets that you're going to go for. So you might start out actually utilizing the idea that you want to hit them turn one. So in the deployment phase, you place your multi-rocket launcher somewhere where they can see something that's interesting to them. That is one way to deploy a multi-rocket launcher. Another way is to ignore what the enemy is doing right now and find the optimal placement for your own multi-rocket launcher. So, for instance, we can have a forest over here, the green bit. Then we have a fence here, like a brick fence or something, a wall, and then a ruined farmstead down here. I hope you can see these. They're not very clear on my phone. Right. So, a multi-rocket launcher really benefits from being in cover, and it especially benefits from being close to some line of sight breaking cover as well. Don't place the multi-rocket launcher behind the line of sight blocking, but if you can place it in a forest, that is a good place. That means that your multi-rocket launcher has soft cover all through the game, because you're not going to move it after you have placed it. Most likely not anyway, and especially if you're in rough ground, you possibly even can't. Even better would be if you could place it in a ruin somewhere. Why is this better? This means it has defended obstacle if it gets charged, it has hard cover, and it doesn't give what it's shooting at hard cover, because it ignores cover, because it's just shooting directly, right, with that multi-rocket launcher. So it really doesn't matter. And here's the benefit. Behind such a line of sight blocking, you can have your lieutenants, and even better, behind a ruin, you can have a lieutenant standing there. What does he need to do? Well, the biggest threat against multi-launchers is that they get pinned. That's it. If I am facing a multi-rocket launcher, I will place 1 or 2 machine guns that can see it, and then each turn they'll just fire. I'm not shooting to kill anyone, I'm just shooting to put pins on the multi-rocket launcher, because each turn that doesn't roll to get those sixes, each turn it doesn't shoot, is a benefit to me. So I'm trying to make it fail order tests. Most multi-rocket launchers are bought inexperienced, so that is pretty easy to do if you put a few pins on it. So you're going to need that lieutenant close by in order for the multi-rocket launcher to actually work, in order to make its order tests, right? Do you need to take off all the pins? Do you need to rally? Possibly not. If your lieutenant is enough just to get it to shoot, because you don't really need, there's no detriment to having pins on it as long as you get to shoot. It will still only hit on a 6, right? Now, So this is my deployment theories. You either deploy to hit the opponent first turn, or you deploy to hit the opponent later in the game from an optimal position. The final thing you can do, and I will need my black marker here, is you can look at where there are buildings on your table, because buildings is a death trap if you have a multi-rocket launcher. So if you decide which side of the table you're on, please make sure that the enemy is on the side where there are the most buildings, or that he wants to go somewhere where the buildings are. And then make sure that your multi-rocket launcher can see those buildings. It doesn't matter that you can't see the enemy itself or that they're hiding behind the buildings, because what you're doing is you're shooting at the actual houses. You're shooting at the building, because then from that house, 6 inches out, everything will be hit. So he can't be too close to those houses. You're denying area terrain for him. You're denying huge parts of where he wants to deploy. You're denying those areas for him. And if he does move into them, it will be dangerous for him. So those are the 3 options for how to deploy your multi-rocket launcher. Now, what to shoot at? There are several trains of thought here. You can shoot at the end of the turn when you can see where he has like several units together, because you want 2 or more units pretty close to each other. That is what you want. That's the prime target for a multi-rocket launcher. So you can try and wait and let the enemy do mistakes, but most likely he will not. This can again be used, and that is where multi-rocket launchers, in my eyes, they become really useful. They sort of encourage your opponent to split up his forces, because if he gets too close together, he will be hit multiple times. Multiple units will be hit. And as soon as you're rolling multiple dice, the odds of one of them turning up to be a 6 increase, right? So you can wait, you can let him make mistakes, and you can encourage him to split up. If he ends up, if you, he shoots your multi-rocket launcher goes down to avoid casualties, what do you do then? Well, you can go first in the turn after. Especially if there is a concentration of force somewhere on the tabletop, if there is a house where there are 3 units close by, end your turn shooting at that house, and if you get the first die next turn, shoot at it again, hit it again. As soon as you have a concentration of force, hit it as soon as possible. Because the enemy will, as soon as he knows that something is wrong and the multi-rocket launcher is shooting at him, he will try to move out. So hit him at the end of the turn, and then the first dice you get next turn, hit him again. That is how you use multi-rocket launchers. Should you go down with a multi-rocket launcher? Possibly not. Unless your math says that you might lose the multi-rocket launcher if you don't. Otherwise, take the pins, do what I said, have a lieutenant close by, and then just shoot next turn, right? Because every turn you have that multi-rocket launcher shooting, you basically have 6 or 7 turns, and each turn that multi-rocket launcher needs to be a threat. It doesn't need to kill something every turn, because multi-rocket launchers, some of them, Howling Cows, are pretty inexperienced, pretty cheap points-wise, right? They're not very expensive. But it needs to be a threat. It needs to encourage the opponent to split up. It needs to encourage him not to have like a focused assault on your forces. That is what it does, and that is what it's good at. Final thing, don't ever shoot at stuff that is very close to your own units, because that will mean that the shot is automatically missed if your unit is actually inside that range. And don't ever shoot at stuff that can recce. A recce vehicle, if you target that, the recce vehicle can move away, and your shot is wasted. If you target something next to a recce vehicle, it cannot move away because it's not the target of an attack. It just gets hit by the indirect splashing of rockets. So that is how you deal with recce units with a multi-rocket launcher. Cheers. Thank you so much.